Hey Sainers, welcome back to the Saints TV YouTube channel. Welcome to the predicted 23 for round 6 against the Western Bulldogs. Sunday, Easter Sunday night, 7:20 p.m. back at Marvel Stadium, back under the roof. Ari is away in Japan. He'll be back next week, so I'm handling this video this week. And I'll tell you, and I was messaging him last night about it, this is bloody difficult. This is not easy. I'm glad I don't do this video every week because it would drive me mad. I already think my team's wrong. I'm expected to get a lot of hate in the comments. I don't know why, but I just think no matter what team you pick, you're always wrong, right? There's never a right way until Ross announces it on the Thursday night. So I'm going to be very interested to see what the actual team is. But before we get into that, let's quickly go over the injury update, and then we'll get into my team that I have selected. So the club have released out the injury report last night. They mentioned that Alex Dodson and Liam O'Connell have both made positive progress through their respective concussion protocols and will be available for selection pending fitness tests this week. So Liam O'Connell, he was part of a couple of good wins there. So that's one that we might look at. Mateus Filippo continues to track well in his rehabilitation. He's about 3 weeks away now. Dougal Howard is putting steps forward. He is also only 3 weeks away. Paddy Dow's ticked off a significant milestone in his recovery into light running duties at RSCA Park for the first time since his knee infection early in the season. And then Dan Butler, 2 to 3 weeks as well. Hunter Clark, 1 to 2 weeks. Jack Carroll, 2 weeks now, which is good. Max King, Paddy Dow, Zane Cordy, all still TBC. But in terms of selection, from the back line, I think we're going to be settled. I don't think there's going to be any change to this. I think Stocker remains. Last 2 weeks, he's thrown his body around, and we need that physicality in there, that contest. Cal Wilkie, Jimmy Webster, Nasiah Wanganeen-Malira, Anthony Caminiti, Jack Sinclair. So that to me is the back six. I think Caminiti is taller than Aaron Norton, so he gets him there. Norton's 195, Caminiti's 196. Does that mean Caminiti's more suited to Sam Darcy? I don't know. That to me is more of a worry. I know Wilkie is shorter, but I prefer his experience and his understanding of the game over a young forward like Sam Darcy. You just can't have Sam Darcy running and jumping. It needs to be packs. You know, it needs to be a pack of 5. If they're kicking it forward and there's a pack, that's when you need the third man up. You need support. Rowan Marshall needs to get behind the ball a lot in this game. Center line, I don't think it changes again. Darcy Wilson, I'm giving him it off. He had a poor game on the weekend, but it's not enough for me to drop him. I think his running capacity on the Marvel deck against a pretty hard-running team in the Dogs is really important. Garcia in the guts, excellent game last week, unchanged there. Brad Hill on the wing, unchanged there. Half forward flank, no changes for me. Max Hall remains, although he's on watch. Mason Wood, centre half forward, he's got to be. We need height in that forward line, and he's been good at kicking goals. I think he's got 9 for the year. Mitch Owens at half forward flank. Now we've got the full forward line. Cooper Sherman takes that for me. He had a great game on the weekend, and he played against Sam Taylor, who is the best fullback in the competition, and Cooper Sherman kicked 3 and took some good marks on him, so he can take full confidence into this game. Jack Higgins in one pocket. The other one, I think Liam Henry. I think bring Liam Henry and play him forward. Don't put him up the ground. Ease him into it. Liam Henry in the other pocket. Followers Marshall, Steele, McRae. I think that's a lock for now until something drastic happens. So that to me is where we're at. Interchange, Collard is on the bench. I'm not dropping Collard after one game. He's had 2 good weeks, and I think they're prone to the smalls getting off the chain and the medium-sized forward. So I think our forward line will trouble the Dogs if we get in there enough. Collard has to stay. I think under the roof, he's very dangerous, and it wasn't a game for him last week. And for the smalls in general, we talked about it post-game, but the ball didn't come to ground enough to support players like Collard, and there's not much he can do when it's not hitting the deck, and he can't rove it. He had his early chance 5 minutes in, and then he was subbed out, and I think it was more tactical than form, so I think that he remains. Ronnie Burns is on the bench for me. He stays. Windhager on the bench, and Isaac Keeler. I know some people are going to think, what the hell are you doing, Jake? He's getting monstered every week, but he was getting monstered and we were still winning. And to me, it's not just about what he brings, it's about what he does for the rest of the team. How much flexibility he offers. It means if he plays, Rowan Marshall can play forward a little bit more and Keeler can go into the ruck and chop out. Maybe it allows Rowan Marshall to rest behind the ball a little bit occasionally if, God knows, the Bulldogs are on a run and we need some height in the defence to stop Sam Darcy or Aaron Norton. I think that's really important, and it just means that Cooper Sharman isn't always the number one dude. Mitch Owens isn't always the number one dude. It just forces them to put a tall player on Keeler. It's almost like a reverse tag. He's almost tagging a tall out of the game. If Rory Lobb has to go to Keeler, so be it. Takes him away from a contest and means we can lower the eyes and hit up targets around the ground a little bit more. I just think last week we tried to go too small, and I think we need a little bit of height. And I thought about Liam O'Connell, but I just think concussion, no VFL last week. I just think we need to get him a run. And Angus Hastie, 190 centimetres, but with Stocker, Naz, Sinclair, Webster, there's too many running half-back types in this team. I don't think we can afford to have another one without sacrificing one, and all of those guys I think are in slightly better form than him. The main one that you would have heard that isn't in the starting lineup is Toby Travalia. He was very poor on the weekend, but not so poor that I would drop him completely. I think it's one of those things that you just put him as the sub, and it's a little bit of a warning, but I think you still need to involve him. I don't want to debut a kid, give him 2 or 3 games, and then just drop him straight off the bat like that. I think that he'll take value out of just being the substitute and coming on later in the game, and we saw even in the preseason game against Carlton when he came on. I know it was preseason, but still, his fresh legs, he looked very lively, very confident. And I think having someone like him that can play on a wing, can play half forward flank, can play in the guts as we've seen, that flexibility and height and running capacity I think will be very valuable if the game gets tight, particularly in the second half. And I think he's a perfect sub for me. And that's the main reason why Hastie is dropped to the emergencies. I think Boxall, as much as I want to fit him in and debut him, I don't see a position on that ground. I think with Steele, McRae and Garcia and Winhager in form, I don't see it. If Garcia needed a break, or maybe he was out of form, maybe a Boxall comes in, but I just don't see who else can come out for him. And then the other emergency to me is Ari Shawmaker. He's been an emergency lock pretty much for most of the season, but I think, again, the back line, you could argue maybe he offers a little bit of height, but he's not that accountable type, and I don't think he's going to be playing on either a Norton or a Darcy, so what's the point? So to me, I think that would be a forced change. Like, you're putting him in for no reason, just because for the sake of change. And I just think we still need to back the team that's gotten us to 3-2 and settle. It's not like we were done by 10 goals on the weekend, although it was looking like it. I just think, just take a breather, bring in some height in Keeler, bring in that running capacity and X factor in Henry for his first game of the year, if he's fit, and just settle it and let the blokes that were down last week, give them one more week to bounce back. Because if they don't bounce back at home, 50-50 game. It's to me, it's a perfect game for some of these players to find form again. Then you can look at some of these more wholesale changes, and it gives you another week of players in the VFL to, off the back of the VFL bye last week, to just get a little bit of continuity. So overall, the ins, Henry, Keeler, just simple. And the outs, Zach Jones, a little bit of a statement there. Some people might be surprised by that. Some people actually had him as the sub for this game, but I just think he's had 2 down games. He's a senior player. We are moving beyond that. He does show signs of, that Zach Jones form that we love, and it kind of seduces you a little bit. But I think if you got Henry fit and we need a little bit more height, I think it's just a straight change for me. And then Angus Hastie is stiff, but I think he can just go back to the VFL and continue his form. He hasn't been bad. I just think currently the team is the team, and I don't see a spot for him in the starting lineup. He's either the sub or he's an emergency for me. And right now, I'd rather have Toby as the sub just for this game in particular. And Hastie can earn his stripes again in the VFL and then come back in. So that's my thinking, Sainers. I think if we weren't going to go tall against the Giants, which we didn't, I don't see any reason why Ross will suddenly freak out and go taller against the Dogs. Because, to be fair, you look at the Giants, it was more the inside 50 entries that killed us. It wasn't Hogan and it wasn't Cadman. It was Toby Green. So it was the smaller blokes that got off the chain for us. We handled Stringer, Cadman and Hogan as best as any team has done all year. And it was just Toby Green in the midfield that really got the score going for them. It wasn't an issue with height. We handled Hogan well, and that gives me confidence that if our midfield lifts and our forward pressure lifts, the entries for the Dogs are not going to be as clean as the ones that the Giants had, and that means that Wilkie, Caminiti, maybe Marshall goes back there more. I think there's more support in the contest that means that Sam Darcy's not going to have too many one-on-ones, because if he does, we're in a world of pain. But also, it's the perfect game where it's like, do you sacrifice more of your strengths under the roof to suit the opposition? I think we're past that. I think we need to stick to our guns. We're a smaller side, but we're a quick side, and we can pressure the ball and we can use it well under the roof. It's going to be a ripper game. That's my team. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Obviously, Harry Boyd is an option. Liam O'Connell is an option. Boxall debut is an option. There are so many options, but that is the beauty of this video, and I don't think there's a wrong answer necessarily. So put yours in the comments, and fingers crossed we can get the win. But until next time, take care, enjoy the rest of your week, and as always, go you mighty Sainers. See you guys.